The Book of Exodus, Chapter 1. These are the names of the Israelites who went with Jacob to Egypt. Each of them went with his family: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah; Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin; Dan and Naphtali; Gad and Asher. In all, the descendants of Jacob numbered 70 persons. Joseph was in Egypt already. Then Joseph died, and his brothers, and all that generations. But the Israelites were fruitful and prolific. They became so numerous and powerful that eventually the whole land was full of them. Then there came to power in Egypt a new king who had never heard of Joseph. "Look," he said to his people, "the Israelites are now more numerous and stronger than we are. We must take precautions to stop them from increasing any further, or if war should break out, they might join the ranks of our enemies. They might take arms against us and then escape from the country." Accordingly, they put taskmasters over the Israelites to wear them down by forced labor. In this way, they built the store cities of Pithom and Ramesses for Pharaoh. But the harder their lives were made, the more they increased and spread, until people came to fear the Israelites. So the Egyptians gave them no mercy in the demands they made, making their lives miserable with hard labor, with digging clay, making bricks, doing various kinds of field work, all sorts of labor that they imposed on them without mercy. The king of Egypt then spoke to the Hebrew midwives, one of whom was called Shiphrah and the other Puah. "When you attend Hebrew women in childbirth," he said, "look at the two stones. If it is a boy, kill him. If a girl, let her live." But the midwives were God-fearing women, and they did not obey the orders of the king of Egypt, but allowed the boys to live. So the king of Egypt summoned the midwives and said to them, "What do you mean by allowing the boys to live?" The midwives said to Pharaoh, "Hebrew women are not like Egyptian women. They are hardy and give birth before the midwife can get to them." For this, God was good to the midwives, and the people went on increasing and growing more powerful. And since the midwives fear God, He gave them families of their own. Pharaoh then gave all his people this command: "Throw every newborn boy into the river, but let all the girls live." Exodus chapter 2. There was a man descended from Levi who had taken a woman of Levi as his wife. She conceived and gave birth to a son, and seeing what a fine child he was, she kept him hidden for 3 months. When she could hide him no longer, she got a papyrus basket for him. Coating it with bitumen and pitch, she put the child inside and laid it among the reeds at the river's edge. His sister took a position some distance away to see what would happen to him. Now Pharaoh's daughter went down to bathe in the river, while her maids walked along the riverside. Among the reeds she noticed the basket, and she sent her maid to fetch it. She opened it and saw the child. The baby was crying. Feeling sorry for it, she said, "This is one of the little Hebrews." The child's sister then said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and find you a nurse among the Hebrew women to nurse the child for you?" "Yes," said Pharaoh's daughter, and the girl went and called the child's own mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child away and nurse it for me. I shall pay you myself for doing so." So the woman took the child away and nursed it. When the child grew up, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, who treated him like a son. She named him Moses because she said, "I drew him out of the water." It happened one day when Moses was grown up that he went to see his kinsmen. While he was watching their forced labor, he also saw an Egyptian striking a Hebrew, one of his kinsmen. Looking this way and that, and seeing no one in sight, he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. On the following day he came back, and there were two Hebrews fighting. He said to the man who was in the wrong, "What do you mean by hitting your kinsman?" "And who appointed you," the man retorted, "to be prince over us and judge us? Do you intend to kill me as you killed the Egyptian?" Moses was frightened. Clearly that business has come to light, he thought. When Pharaoh heard of the matter, he tried to put Moses to death. But Moses fled from Pharaoh. He went into Midianite territory and sat down beside a well. Now there was a priest of Midian with 7 daughters. They used to come to draw water and fill the troughs to water their father's flock. When they returned to their father Reuel, he said to them, "Why are you back so early today?" "An Egyptian protected us from the shepherds," they said, "and he even drew water for us and watered the flock." "And where is he?" he asked his daughters. "Why did you leave the man there? Ask him to eat with us." Moses agreed to stay on there with the man, who gave him his daughter Zipporah in marriage. She gave birth to a son, whom he named Gershom, because he said, "I am an alien in a foreign land." During this long period, the king of Egypt died. The Israelites, groaning in their slavery, cried out for help, and from the depths of their slavery, their cry came up to God. God heard their groaning. God remembered his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God saw the Israelites and took note. Exodus chapter 3. Moses was looking after the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian. He led it to the far side of the desert and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. The angel of Yahweh appeared to him in a flame blazing from the middle of a bush. Moses looked. There was the bush blazing, but the bush was not being burnt up. Moses said, "I must go across and see this strange sight, and why the bush is not being burnt up." When Yahweh saw him going across to look, God called to him from the middle of the bush, "Moses, Moses," he said. "Here I am," he answered. "Come no nearer," he said. "Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground." "I am the God of your ancestors," he said, "the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." At this Moses covered his face, for he was afraid to look at God. Yahweh then said, "I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard them crying for help on account of their taskmasters. Yes, I am well aware of their sufferings. And I have come down to rescue them from the clutches of the Egyptians and bring them out of that country, to a country rich and broad, to a country flowing with milk and honey, to the home of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites." Yes, indeed, the Israelites' cry for help has reached me, and I have also seen the cruel way in which the Egyptians are oppressing them. So now I am sending you to Pharaoh, for you to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt." Moses said to God, "Who am I to go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt?" "I shall be with you," God said, "and this is the sign by which you will know that I was the one who sent you. After you have led the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this mountain." Moses then said to God, "Look, if I go to the Israelites and say to them, 'The God of your ancestors has sent me to you,' and they say to me, 'What is his name?' what am I to tell them?" God said to Moses, "I am he who is." And he said, "This is what you are to say to the Israelites, 'I am has sent me to you.'" God further said to Moses, "You are to tell the Israelites, 'Yahweh, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has sent me to you.' This is my name for all time, and thus I am to be invoked for all generations to come. Go, gather the elders of Israel together and tell them, 'Yahweh, the God of your ancestors, has appeared to me, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, and has indeed visited you and seen what is being done to you in Egypt, and has said, I shall bring you out of the misery of Egypt to the country of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, to a country flowing with milk and honey. They will listen to your words, and you and the elders of Israel are to go to the king of Egypt and say to him, 'Yahweh, the God of the Hebrews, has encountered us. So now please allow us to make a 3 days journey into the desert and sacrifice to Yahweh our God. I am well aware that the king of Egypt will not let you go unless he is compelled by a mighty hand. He will not let you go until I have stretched out my arm and struck Egypt with all the wonders I intend to work there. I shall ensure that the Egyptians are so much impressed with this people that when you go, you will not go empty-handed. Every woman will ask her neighbor and the woman staying in her house for silver and golden jewelry and clothing. In this you will dress your own sons and daughters, despoiling the Egyptians of them." Exodus chapter 4. Moses replied as follows, "But suppose they will not believe me or listen to my words, and say to me, 'Yahweh has not appeared to you.'" Yahweh then said, "What is that in your hand?" "A staff," he said. "Throw it on the ground," said Yahweh. Moses threw it on the ground, and the staff turned into a snake, and Moses recoiled from it. Yahweh then said to Moses, "Reach out your hand and catch it by the tail." He reached out his hand, caught it, and in his hand it turned back into a staff. Thus they may believe that Yahweh, the God of their ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has appeared to you. Next Yahweh said to him, "Put your hand inside your tunic." He put his hand inside his tunic. Then he drew it out again, and his hand was diseased, white as snow. Yahweh then said, "Put your hand back inside your tunic." He put his hand back inside his tunic, and when he drew it out, there it was restored. just like the rest of his flesh. Even so, should they not believe you, nor be convinced by the first sign, the second sign will convince them. But should they not be convinced by either of these two signs, and refuse to listen to what you say, you are to take some water from the river and pour it on the ground, and the water you have taken from the river will turn to blood on the dry land." Moses said to Yahweh, "Please, my Lord, I have never been eloquent even since you have spoken to your servant, for I am slow and hesitant of speech." "Who gave a person a mouth?" Yahweh said to him. "Who makes a person dumb or deaf, gives sight or makes blind? Is it not I, Yahweh? Now go, I shall help you speak and instruct you what to say." "Please, my Lord," Moses replied, "send anyone you decide to send." At this, Yahweh's anger kindled against Moses, and he said to him, "There is your brother Aaron the Levite. Is there not? I know that he is a good speaker. Here he comes to meet you. When he sees you, his heart will be full of joy. You will speak to him and tell him what message to give. I shall help you speak, and him too, and instruct you what to do. He will speak to the people in your place. He will be your mouthpiece, and you will be as the God inspiring him. And take this staff in your hand. With this you will perform the signs." Moses went back to his father-in-law Jethro and said to him, "Give me leave to return to my kinsmen in Egypt and see if they are still alive." And Jethro said to Moses, "Go in peace." Yahweh said to Moses in Midian, "Go, return to Egypt, for all those who wanted to kill you are dead." So Moses took his wife and his son, and putting them on a donkey, started back for Egypt. And Moses took the staff of God in his hand. Yahweh said to Moses, "Think of the wonders I have given you power to perform. Once you are back in Egypt, you are to perform them before Pharaoh, but I myself shall make him obstinate, and he will not let the people go. You will then say to Pharaoh, 'This is what Yahweh says, Israel is my firstborn son.' I told you, 'Let my son go and worship me,' but since you refuse to let him go, well then, I shall put your firstborn son to death." On the journey, when he had halted for the night, Yahweh encountered him and tried to kill him. Then Zipporah, taking up a flint, cut off her son's foreskin, and with it touched his feet and said, "You are my blood bridegroom." So he let him go. She said, "Blood bridegroom," then, with reference to the circumcision. Yahweh said to Aaron, "Go into the desert to meet Moses." So he went and met him at the mountain of God and kissed him. Moses then told Aaron all that Yahweh had said when sending him, and all the signs he had ordered him to perform. Moses and Aaron then went and gathered all the elders of the Israelites together, and Aaron repeated everything that Yahweh had said to Moses, and in the sight of the people performed the signs. The people were convinced, and they rejoiced and they bowed to the ground in worship. Exodus chapter 5. After this, Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and said to him, "This is what Yahweh, God of Israel, says, 'Let my people go, so that they can hold a feast in my honor in the desert.'" "Who is Yahweh?" Pharaoh replied, "for me to obey what he says and let Israel go? I know nothing of Yahweh, and I will not let Israel go." "The God of the Hebrews has encountered us," they replied. "Give us leave to make a 3 days' journey into the desert and sacrifice to Yahweh our God, or he will strike us with a plague or with a sword." The king of Egypt said to them, "Moses and Aaron, what do you mean by distracting the people from their work? Get back to your forced labor." And Pharaoh said, "Now that the people have grown to such numbers in the country, what do you mean by interrupting their forced labor?" That very day Pharaoh gave the order to the people's taskmasters and their scribes, "Do not go on providing the people with straw for brick-making as before. Let them go and gather straw for themselves. But you will exact the same quantity of bricks from them as before, not producing it at all, since they are lazy, and that is why their cry is, 'Let us go and sacrifice to our God.' Give these people more work to do, and see, they do it instead of listening to lying speeches." The people's taskmasters and scribes went out to speak to the people and said, "Pharaoh says this, 'I shall not provide you with any more straw. Go and collect straw for yourselves where you can find it, but your output is not to be any less.' So the people scattered all over Egypt to gather stubble for their straw. The taskmasters harassed them. "You must complete your daily quota," they said, just as when the straw was there. And the Israelites' foremen, whom Pharaoh's taskmasters had put in charge of them, were flogged and asked, "Why have you not fulfilled your quota of bricks made today as before?" The Israelites' foremen went and appealed to Pharaoh. "Why do you treat your servants like this?" they said. "No straw is provided for your servants, yet still the cry is, 'Make bricks,' and now your servants are being flogged." "You are lazy, lazy," he retorted. "That is why you say, 'Let us go and sacrifice to Yahweh.' Get back to your work at once. You will not be provided with straw. All the same, you will deliver the quota of bricks." The Israelites' foremen saw that they were in a difficult position and being told, "You will not reduce your daily production of bricks." As they left Pharaoh's presence, they met Moses and Aaron, who were standing in their way. "May Yahweh look down at you and judge," they said to them. "You have brought us into bad odor with Pharaoh and his officials. You have put a sword into their hand to kill us." Moses went back to Yahweh and said, "Lord, why do you treat these people so harshly? Why did you send me? Ever since I came to Pharaoh and spoke to him in your name, he has ill-treated these people, and you have done nothing at all about rescuing your people." Exodus chapter 6. Yahweh then said to Moses, "Now you will see what I am going to do to Pharaoh. A mighty hand will force him to let them go. A mighty hand will force him to expel them from this country." God spoke to Moses and said to him, "I am Yahweh. To Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, I appeared as El Shaddai, but I did not make my name Yahweh known to them. I also made my covenant with them to give them a land of Canaan, the country in which they were living as aliens. Furthermore, I have heard the groaning of the Israelites, enslaved by the Egyptians, and have remembered my covenant. So say to the Israelites, I am Yahweh. I shall free you from the forced labor of the Egyptians. I shall rescue you from their slavery. and I shall redeem you with outstretched arm and mighty acts of judgment. I shall take you as my people, and I shall be your God, and you will know that I am Yahweh, your God, who have freed you from the forced labor of the Egyptians. Then I shall lead you into the country which I swore I would give to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and shall give it to you as your heritage. I, Yahweh. And Moses repeated this to the Israelites, but they would not listen to Moses. So crushed was their spirit, and so cruel their slavery. Yahweh then said to Moses, "Go to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and tell him to let the Israelites leave his country." But Moses spoke out in Yahweh's presence and said, "The Israelites have not listened to me, so why should Pharaoh take any notice of a poor speaker like me?" Yahweh spoke to Moses and Aaron and sent them to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to lead the Israelites out of Egypt. These were their heads of families: the sons of Reuben, Israel's firstborn, Hanok, Palo, Hezron, and Carmi. These are the sons of Reuben. The sons of Simeon: Jemuel, Jamin, Ohad, Joachim, Zohar, and Shaul, son of the Canaanite woman. These are the clans of Simeon. These were the names of the sons of Levi with their descendants: Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. Levi lived for 130. The sons of Merari: Mali and Mushi. These are the clans of Levi with their descendants. Amram married Jochebed, his aunt, and bore him Aaron and Moses. Amram lived for 137 years. The sons of Ishar were Korah, Nepheg, and Zikri. The sons of Uziel: Mishael, Elzaphan, and Sifri. Aaron married Elisheba, daughter of Aminadab, and sister of Nashon, and she bore him Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. The sons of Korah: Asher, Elkanah, and Abiasaph. These are the clans of the Korahites. Eleazar, son of Aaron, married one of Putiel's daughters, who bore him Phinehas. These were the Levitical heads of families according to clan. It was to this Aaron and Moses that Yahweh said, "Lead the Israelites out of Egypt in their armies." It was they who spoke to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to lead the Israelites out of Egypt, namely Moses and Aaron. Now, the day when Yahweh spoke to Moses in Egypt, Yahweh said to Moses, "Tell Pharaoh, king of Egypt, everything that I am going to say to you." But Moses said to Yahweh's face, "I am a poor speaker, so why should Pharaoh take any notice of me?" Exodus chapter 7. Yahweh then said to Moses, "Look, I have made you as a god for Pharaoh, and your brother Aaron is to be your prophet. You must say whatever I command you, and your brother Aaron will repeat to Pharaoh that he is to let the Israelites leave his country. But I myself shall make Pharaoh stubborn, and shall perform many a sign and wonder in Egypt. Since Pharaoh will not listen to you, I shall lay my hand on Egypt, and with great acts of judgment lead my armies, my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. And the Egyptians will know that I am Yahweh, when I stretch out my hand against the Egyptians, and lead the Israelites out of their country." Moses and Aaron did exactly as Yahweh had ordered. Moses was 80 years old and Aaron 83 when they spoke to Pharaoh. Yahweh said to Moses and Aaron, If Pharaoh says to you, "Display some marvel," you must say to Aaron, "Take your staff and throw it down in front of Pharaoh, and let it turn into a serpent." Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and did as Yahweh had ordered. Aaron threw down his staff in front of Pharaoh and his officials, and it turned into a serpent. Then Pharaoh, in his turn, called for the sages and sorcerers, and by their spells the magicians of Egypt did the same. Each threw his staff down, and this turned into serpents, but Aaron's staff swallowed up theirs. Pharaoh, however, remained obstinate, and as Yahweh had foretold, refused to listen to Moses and Aaron. Yahweh then said to Moses, "Pharaoh is adamant. He refuses to let the people go. Go to Pharaoh tomorrow morning as he makes his way to the water. Confront him on the river bank, and in your hand take the staff that turned into a snake. Say to him, 'Yahweh, God of the Hebrews, sent me to say, let my people go and worship in the desert. Up till now you have refused to listen. This is what Yahweh says. You will know that I am Yahweh by this. With the staff that is in my hand, I shall strike the waters of the river, and they will turn to blood. The fish in the river will die, and the river will stink, and the Egyptians will not be able to drink the river water.'" Yahweh said to Moses, "Say to Aaron, take your staff and stretch out your hand over the waters of Egypt, over their rivers and canals, their marshland, and all their reservoir, and they will turn to blood. There will be blood throughout the whole of Egypt, even in sticks and stones." Moses and Aaron did as Yahweh ordered. He raised his staff and struck the waters of the river, with Pharaoh and his officials looking on, and all the water in the river turned to blood. The fish in the river died, and the river stank, and the Egyptians could no longer drink the river water. Throughout the whole of Egypt there was blood. But by their spells the magicians of Egypt did the same. Pharaoh remained obstinate, and as Yahweh had foretold, refused to listen to Moses and Aaron. Pharaoh turned away and went back into his palace, taking no notice even of this. And the Egyptians all dug holes along the river bank in search of drinking water, since they could not drink the river water. After Yahweh struck the river, 7 days went by. Then Yahweh said to Moses, "Go to Pharaoh and say to him, 'Yahweh says this, let my people go and worship me. If you refuse to let them go, I shall strike your whole territory with frogs. The river will swarm with frogs. They will make their way into your palace, into your bedroom, onto your bed, into the houses of your officials and subjects, into your ovens, into your kneading bowls. The frogs will actually clamber onto you, onto your subjects, and onto all your officials."